Mira here just revealed her 7-step blueprint to building and scaling food businesses to 10 crores in revenue. For today's episode, we're going to discuss these 7 topics. Why to build a business? If you have no money, what you can do? What business should you build? Cloud kitchen, restaurants, packaging. What should be your business mindset? How to start, how to get profits, and ultimately how you can sell your business. So Mira, how has building and scaling 4 food businesses treated you so far?
See, I have always had an interest in food and food businesses. I think I was 10 years old when I thought I will enter the food business, and that had been my dream. So for me, it was long-term passion that got me here. But that does not need to be the case for everybody. Food is something that most people can relate to very easily, and there is so much that can happen within the food space. It's really interesting. People are coming up with great new concepts. So the why for the business should be very simple in a founder's mind. Why are you getting into a food business? Is it because of interest in a certain format of food? Is it because you always felt like there was some skills that you had that you wanted to share with other people and build a business out of it? Or is it that you're purely wanting to build a business of scale within the food space, and that's why you're doing it? Most people that I speak to want to, in some way, start a food business. Most people say that when I retire, I will start a cafe in Goa, or I want to move to Himachal and start, a mountain cafe or a restaurant or whatever. So it is a business that is attractive to most people. It seems like it is a great profession that can turn in passion turned into profession. So the why should be clear.
Is it important to differentiate whether you want to do it for the scale, for the profits, or just for a motive? Let's say you want to launch a healthier alternative.
So the motive should be very clear. When you're starting out a business, you should know what is the end goal. What are you trying to achieve out of it? If somebody is just trying to start a cafe because they enjoy, cooking and they want to experiment, that's different. If somebody wants to build at scale, whether it be a food brand or a cloud kitchen business, or build a chain of restaurants, the end goal should be very clear, because all your decisions will be made based on what you're trying to achieve. For example, if you want to build a cloud kitchen and scale a cloud kitchen brand, then your decision to find certain real estate based on where the location is going to be, what are the rentals, what are the footfalls you're looking at, what are the micro markets, how's the rider availability for aggregators, all of those things will become important. Versus if you're wanting to build a chain of restaurants, then obviously you'll want to look at footfall and what are the other alternatives available in that micro market, what is the demographic of that place. All of those things come into play. So knowing what you are building and why you're building is very, very important at the onset.
So essentially, what does it take to build a business?
So much. It seems that it is very easy to build a business, and a lot of people get into food businesses thinking that it is easy. And which is true. The barrier to entry is fairly low. And it's a sexy business, right? Most people, glamorize food businesses. However, it could not be further from the truth. Food businesses are hard. Food businesses are strenuous, laborious, long hours. Anytime there are holidays or weekends when all your friends are enjoying and having a good time or going out, you're in your kitchen, putting out orders or whatever it is that you're doing to build the business. So food business is not a sexy business, so you have to get in with that knowledge that it's going to be hard work, uh, it's going to come with a lot of sacrifices, but if that's where your passion is, it's a good business to get into.
But when it comes to starting a business on your own, people feel that access to money is the single most important aspect, or rather, that is the reason why people fail when they want to start a business. So, if somebody doesn't have access to money, what can they do to launch their own business?
See, it's a wrong notion to think that money solves everything. That if you have money, um, then you can build a business. Then all the companies that have raised hundreds of millions of dollars and then the business model did not work would not exist. So money does not solve everything. Of course, there is money required to build any business to get started. When there is no access to capital and you're bootstrapping a business with whatever little, there has to be some skin in the game. So you'll have to at least get the first few equipment and a place where you can cook out of. It could be your home.
Right.
So for food businesses, you can start with very, very little money and get traction by selling to a very small, define your target audience, right? If you are building, say if you're making protein bars, with higher protein content than what's available in the market. Say that's your hero product and that's what you're building. Find your niche audience and find those super users who understand why this product is good. Right. Build loyalty. The customers will, with word of mouth, get you more business. Build a solid product that is perfect for a very small segment of users and sell to them. Figure out a way. So if it's a protein bar, figure out a way how to get in touch with certain gyms. Right. Maybe a chain of gyms or some health food store can carry your figure out those shortcuts to to ensure that your target audience gets to see your product and build loyalty. Put yourself out there, start talking to these users, right. Understand what the consumers are saying, and build loyalty from there. Right. Once you have a set of, even if there are 100 customers that love your product, from then on, you can, by selling to them, by upselling to them, using them as pretty much brand ambassadors, right. You can roll this into something much larger.
Okay, I get your point, but let's say somebody wants to scale and they want to get access to money. So what are some ways in which a completely new person in this industry can get access to capital?
So you'll have to show some traction, right? So we'll still continue about this food brand that is selling high protein bars. Say they have 100 users that are hooked onto their protein bars. And these are fitness, enthusiasts who are doing this, right? You get testimonials, you get them talking about your brand, not only to people offline, but even online. Get them to start posting. If your product is that good, a consumer will go out of their way to vouch for it and talk about it. Once you do that, it gets noticed. Take this traction, and then you can approach, angel investors. In the beginning, you don't need a lot of money. You're still trying to validate your business, your product. So, reach out to angels who like to who have interest in consumer businesses, who would, put small checks and get that traction rolling. You have to start somewhere, and don't think that, I've started a brand, I have to raise 100 crores. If I don't raise 100 crores, it's not a success. that it takes steps to get there.
Right. So talking about angel investors, how can somebody who is a completely out of this business world get access to those, get that first step in those doors?
In today's world, I believe anybody has access to anybody in this world, right? You're a prime example of it, right? So if you really want to reach out to somebody, do your homework, put in the work, make those cold calls, send those LinkedIn invites, write those messages, comment on their posts. The world has become so small now that you cannot, if you wish to reach somebody, there's a good chance you will get access to them.
Right.
So take the initiative.
Take the initiative. So now let's say somebody has their why figured out, they have the access to money as well, or they have means कि they can just start their business. Starting के लिए they have that capital with them. Now, what food business should they start? I mean, what category should they go into? Like cloud kitchens, frozen deliveries that as you are doing, or what else is there?
So within the food space, there are several different routes that one can take. One is serving finished food, which is restaurants, cloud kitchens, QSRs, delivery. Then there are options for packaged food, FMCG products. Within FMCG, I see a lot of traction happening. The snacking category is it's growing exponentially in our country. The entire health segment is growing exponentially also. So, and at the same time, even indulgent products category is growing. So India is it's such a fantastic market right now that most businesses, so they're consumers for all kinds of products. What I would say is that figure out how and what interests you. When you become an expert in what you're selling, that just makes it that much more valuable, right? So say you want to start a snacking brand, right? You have to be passionate about it. You have to be a user of it. Figure out a gap. So why I was so keen and interested in the frozen food brands is, I've lived outside India for several years, and I saw the entire gamut of frozen foods that are available, aisles and aisles. You walk into a grocery store and there are aisles and aisles of frozen foods available. And I always had the notion growing up that that's not fresh. However, I learned that freezing is the cleanest form of preservation. So when I moved back home, I realized that such options are not available, and there is a gap in the industry. Right. So that's how that was the initial thought. And then, of course, there was enough research done about it, and then I got into it. So find a gap that speaks to you. Find a category that you are passionate about and you are excited about. And I think that would be a good place to start. Passion is one thing. You have to also see that does this translate into business, right? Is it the right time?
Of course.
Is that market growing? And there are a lot of researches available that you could even buy, and there's free research available as well. So not everybody who's trying to build a business needs to spend thousands of rupees getting their hands on research. There's enough data available. You just have to look. You have to put in the work and find the relevant information for that industry. Right. And speak to people. Speak to a lot of people. If there is somebody who's running a good brand, take your shots. Right. Reach out. Ask them, how do you see this industry? If there are certain businesses that are doing exceptionally well, reach out. Most people are happy to speak and share their journey.
Also, quickly on this topic itself, which category has the highest margins in the food industry?
in the finished food space, margins are squeezed now. There are many different price points that you can go at. There is the premium price point, there is the mass premium, there's mass price point. However, in today's day and age, for any finished food restaurant, cloud kitchen, cafe, selling online is a must. Because that's how consumers are buying.
Correct.
And when you sell online, there's a significant chunk that you have to shell out to the aggregators.
Right.
So the margins are squeezed. Now, what restaurants need to do is keep a very close eye on their costs. Be very stringent with all your advertising budgets and ad clicks that you're doing on aggregator platforms to protect your margin. But in the restaurant space, the margins are something that are getting squeezed, and most restaurants struggle with that. So that's something to look at. Whereas in the packaged FMCG space, margins are good. However, the consumers today are buying online. So on this side, you would have to be selling on quick commerce or e-commerce online. If you have a new brand, chances are you will do the online first strategy, which gets you to scale quickly. And again, there are margins that need to be shared with these platforms. So I would say build that into the cost. Know your cost breakup upfront and build that into your cost price. While you're doing your unit economics, make sure you're aware of all the additional costs, not just the cost of production or the cost of the goods that you're selling, but make sure all the overheads are accounted for, and then do the pricing. It's very hard to, once you launch a product, it's very hard to go back and change the pricing and increase the pricing.
Right.
So be smart and cognizant about the pricing upfront.
Right. Give me 3 things everyone should be aware of in the food industry.
One, that it is really, really hard business. It seems like, because of the low barrier to entry, it seems like a very easy business, but it is hard and it is not sexy. It is, मतलब जो नॉन सेक्सी बिजनेस होता है ना, वो बाहर से ग्लैमरस लगता है, जैसे होटल इंडस्ट्री होती है. Everybody thinks that, oh, I'm going to go work in a 5-star. But you're not. It's not like you're a guest in the 5-star. You're working. So it's not glamorous and it is physically laborious work. So be prepared for the hard work that comes in. 2, profitability is a daily problem. It is not something, it's not quarter on quarter. It's not that, okay, how did we do this year?
Right.
At a restaurant, you're looking at profitability on a daily basis. And 2, your performance is also on a daily basis, right? Today, consumers are very vocal. They will come in and tell you when you're doing great, and they will come in and tell 100 people if you're not doing great. So your performance is also, rated on a daily basis. So be super careful about the quality and keep your focus on ensuring that you're giving your customers excellent quality and whatever you stand for, whatever is your promise to the consumer when they're buying from you, you're delivering on that on a daily basis.
So now let's talk about the mindset that is required to build a business in this food industry. So Mira, tell me ki if somebody is a complete beginner and newbie, so what should they be prepared for in terms of mental challenges, in terms of mindset? क्या होना चाहिए?
Customer obsession होना चाहिए. You have to be obsessed with your customer and giving your customers exactly what you promised.
Right.
Excellent quality, great service, perfect packaging, delivered exactly how you show it in the images, all of that. So customer obsession should definitely be there. mental health is another aspect of business in the restaurant business that I see, because the hours are really, really long, right? Most restaurants run till midnight, and so being active and alert for such long hours can take a toll. So figure out your support system, figure out within your team who can cover for you, so that everybody yourself as well as your team is able to find that balance, so that there's no burnout. So those are the things that come to mind. Outside of that, this is प्योर धंधा है ये. इसमें कोई फूड बिजनेस है, फूड बिजनेस की तरह चलाओ. इंजीनियर हो पर फूड बिजनेस चला रहे हो तो ये टेक बिजनेस नहीं बन जाएगा, राइट? तो फूड बिजनेस है, धंधा है, धंधे की तरह चलाओ. रोज नफा मुनाफा देखो. Look at your P&L on a daily basis. See how you're doing. Think of it as, and if you get it right early on, right? If you get it right when you have 2 cloud kitchens, then when you have 100, you have your basics clear. Correct. So if you feel that, okay, I'm burning to gain traction, you'll be burning 100x at when the business scales. So run it like a food business, not a tech business. It is tech. Tech can only enable. After all, the customer is eating the food, and they're going to come back if the food is good. If you're selling biryani, if it tastes good, they'll come back. They're not going to come back because you delivered it in X number of minutes, or if your packaging was superior, or you gave them a nice quiz, or you gave them a nice, at the end of the meal, you gave them some, a nice game to play or something.
Something quirky.
Yeah. So after all, your food needs to speak for it.
Now, is it important that somebody tests the market before they plan to scale?
Absolutely. Scale only when you have the right traction, and be very careful in defining what traction is. Just growing at X% month on month or year on year is not enough. Are you growing sustainably? If your customer acquisition costs are out of control and you're growing, it's not going to be sustainable. So absolutely, make sure you have product market fit before you grow. I strongly believe that one should go deep before going wide. Most businesses today, they want to expand geographies, they want to have X number of locations, or available in so many cities, and all of that. That will come once you have the right product and the right customer base that you're addressing. Get that right and define the right metrics from the beginning, and focus. Keep that focus always.
But how to get that PMF then?
Start small. PMF in a small micro market is PMF. Make sure you have, your unit economics are clear. Make sure, the plan on how adding more locations, what is that going to do to you? So say in a micro market like Gurgaon, if you have 2 locations and you think it's a 15 location market, how is that going to define your scale? Is there going to be customer cannibalizing that will happen because of that? Or are you going to expand your customer base? So those questions have to be very defined before scaling. And you want to make sure that you show how the repeat users are coming. What is the repeat customer base? What is the lifetime value of a consumer? How frequently are they ordering from your restaurant or platform or buying your products? So these things will lead to PMF. Keep it small. Even at small scale, PMF can be achieved. And once you have that, then it's just a question of multiplying what you've already mastered into other locations.
Let's say somebody has achieved PMF. So what are some ways wherein they can master their marketing?
It's in the food business, marketing is not easy, right? There is so much competition, there's so much noise, there are so many brands. So it is definitely not easy. I think that your product quality is what will speak for you in the long run. You can get users, you can have jazzy campaigns and hook the consumers in for first order, maybe even second order. But beyond that, it purely rides on your product. So have a great product. Of course, there needs to be very targeted marketing campaigns that, whenever you enter a new geography. So again, have that template ready as well of what worked in certain micro markets, in certain geographies, and how do I extend it when I enter new geographies.
So tell me, Mira, how can new food brands stand out from the competition? Is it just positioning yourself differently, offering something new? What can they do to stand out?
Tell me what food brands have caught your interest in the last few months.
Yoga Bar is one.
Okay.
Whole Truth Foods. Because I'm a fitness enthusiast, right? So I like alternatives which are healthier and can help me indulge in some cheat meals, but also give me that satisfaction कि मैं कुछ healthy खा रहा हूँ.
And how did you hear about them and what caught your attention about them?
Through their packaging, through their ads on social media.
You've answered your question. That's what matters, right? Because what they are building and what they're selling fits your need. And it speaks the language that you are looking for, right? It connects with you. Hence, it caught your attention. What might catch my attention might be something different, right? So define your target audience. And when you define your target audience, go deep into what is my target audience? Like, what are they watching? Where do they visit? What are the artists they like? What are the books they are reading, if at all they're reading any books? So get really detailed about your TG and then run your marketing campaigns and do lots of experiments.
Basically, know your customer first and then try to structure your campaigns around that.
Yes.
Now, जैसे हमने बात करी पहले कि in food business margins are very slim. So now somebody wants to start it. अब धंधा है तो they have to make money from it, right? So how can they structure their business for profitability from day one?
धंधे की तरह ही देखना है. 100 रुपए का माल खरीदा तो 120, 130 में नहीं बेचा तो लॉस में चल रहे हो. सिंपल बात है. 100 रुपए का खरीद के 80 में मत बेचो. बहुत ही people make it very, very complex. Know all your costs. From day one, know all your costs, even the hidden cost, and account for all your costs. And know what your, what your cogs are, what your manpower is costing, what your electricity, what your rentals, what your packaging, what your aggregator fees. Know details of your cost and make sure you're selling over it. It's just that simple.
क्या है?
Hidden costs बहुत सारी होती हैं. कभी excess manpower चाहिए होता है, कभी unknown contingency आ जाती है.
जैसे
genset खराब हो गया तो उसका unexpected cost आ गया. Your delivery vehicle breaks down and then suddenly you are having to shell out more money. There are so many, these are operationally heavy businesses, right? So when you are doing this at a small scale, even the slightest shift and slightest cost can really, one needs to plan for it. So know all your costs and make sure you're running a daily P&L. I cannot say this enough for new businesses and young companies. Know your P&L on a daily basis and you cannot go wrong.
So on this topic itself, आपने बोला कि 100 का खरीद के 80 का नहीं बेचना. But what happens is, even if a new person starts this business and raw material cost let's say 40 है and let's say उन्होंने उसको प्लान करा 80 का बेचते हैं because they didn't account for their hidden costs, ना कि अपना जो पेट्रोल लगेगा, quick commerce discounts, aggregator charges, right? So what is a good profit percentage somebody should plan from day one कि इतना अगर मैं लेके चलता हूँ तो this will keep me in a good shape in the longer run.
Minimum 5x of your cost, of your food cost.
Okay.
Make sure that your selling price is 5x of your food cost. That should largely cover most of your bases, and you should be in the green. If you're not wasteful,
Okay.
run a tight ship still. If you're not wasteful, I think 5x of food cost is a good number to go with.
So how do you decide whether to stay bootstrapped or raise capital?
It will depend on your business objectives. Is it, are you looking at raising a round for scale? Or are you raising a round because you've run out of money? So those are the considerations.
Right.
Bootstrapping a business is a good idea until you reach a certain scale. Of course, if your vision is large and if you have a customer base that likes your products, of course you will need money to grow. I think at that stage, for food businesses, taking on money too early can be detrimental. However, if you are in a capex heavy business, say cafes or restaurant, then of course you would need to raise money if you don't have your own capital to build such assets. You could also, there are interesting ways to structure. There are, interesting ways to structure in terms of real estate partners who come in and help you to, in terms of setting up a location. There are partners that can, on a revenue share basis, come in as investors. There's also debt that's available in the market. So there are multiple options. Raising money from VC is not the only option, but if the business is doing well and there's traction and there's interest from investors, I think that's a good time to look at raising money.
Now let's talk about selling your business. If I'm not wrong, you built a brand Purist and then sold it to Eat Fit.
Right.
How did that happen?
So I was building a brand where the food philosophy was healthy, everyday meals. And that resonated very closely with what Eat Fit's food philosophy was also, in terms of wanting to give better ingredients, healthier meals to consumers on a daily basis. Purist was an offline business. Eat Fit, of course, is an online business, online first business. So the synergies were there. This was around the time when Eat Fit was looking to enter the North India market. And the food philosophy is where we found the connection. And that's how the transaction happened. And post the transaction, I joined Eat Fit. And I had a really wonderful time, building that business in the North and the East zone. I knew the food preferences of consumers, but this was the first time I interacted with consumers online, and I got to truly understand how to build traction, how to increase the wallet size, how to increase the repeat user base, and all of those things, right? Which were wonderful for me to understand. Also scale a business really fast, and an operationally heavy business while keeping a very close eye on quality, on customer experience, and the brand image. So yeah, it was a good experience.
What is one criteria that a new brand can keep in their philosophy, in their minds, if they want to be acquired by bigger brands?
So it depends on what your food brand is, right? Like Yoga Bar was acquired. So it has to align with, and I think there are businesses that align with most things. So if you're a bhujia maker, and you're making a healthy, baked, non-fried bhujia, Haldiram could be somebody who would buy you. If you are a restaurant chain, another, say a pizza chain with 5 cafes or 5 locations in Lucknow. And there is a larger brand that wants to enter that market, that could be possible acquisition. So if you're building to sell, I mean, you have to be very clear from the get-go that you're building to sell. Few things to keep in mind is make sure your costs, you're not very bloated. Don't raise money that you don't need just to have raised money. 3, keep an eye on what's going on in the market and who needs what at what time. Timing is everything. So at the right time, when a brand needs certain presence in a certain location or in a certain segment, that's when opportunities for acquisitions can happen. So timing is key.
Also, on this note itself, how to optimize for maximum money in the acquisition?
See, that will depend on the traction. What are you building? What segment are you building in? What is the revenue? And what is your gross margin? Are you EBITDA positive? All of those things will come into play. But generally speaking, in food businesses, an outcome can be anywhere between 2.5 to 5x of your revenue, hopefully, and not just profitability. If it's profitability, it can, I would say, 5x of profitability would be. So it depends on the deal that you can strike.
Also, is there a certain moment in a business life cycle that it's ready to be acquired by a bigger brand?
Most definitely. So if a business has scaled as far as it can go and you're seeing a plateau of revenue, you're seeing a plateau in terms of growth, that is a good time. And similarly, that is a good time for a company to acquire other businesses as well. So inorganic growth can be something that brands and companies look at to increase their revenues.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mira. With that, we come to the end of our discussion for today. I believe that audience watching would have gained the insights that they wanted to launch a food business and scale it to whatever crores you want to. Awesome. Thank you, Mira.
Thank you for having me.